Hello my tarot friends, today I'm gonna do something different. I will share with you the tarot decks that are either inspired or based on the Thoth system. So let me firstly show you the Thoth deck, which I have been very intrigued by since the first time I laid my eyes on it. I have to admit I have not studied it enough yet, but it is something that I truly want to do because I think that it is just so inspiring and full of information, and it just gives you everything if you are willing to look for details and explore the details. I have not read the Book of Thoth yet. I definitely will in the future. I do have some books about the Thoth system as well, and I think they are very good, but I think you can only really learn this deck if you actually work with it and if you take your time, because the colors speak so well through this deck. The strokes, the shapes, the symbolism, the references to the planets, to the zodiac signs, everything. It is so amazing. Even the number of things. I'm sure if we count all the golden drops here, there's a number, and this number means something, and the red ones as well. Like every little thing, like there are things written in the wings here, for example. I need to check what it says. I can't really read it at the moment. And here you have writing as well in Latin. That definitely means something. You have like these little details. For example, here you have like a skull and a raven sitting on it. And there you have like a little bee here. Actually you have bees and snakes. And then you have like, it looks like pentacles within her chest, or within its chest, or within their chest. And then like you have a rainbow on its... It is so amazing, this deck. Like, I know that some people refuse to use this deck because of Crowley. Now, I've watched a few short documentaries on Crowley. My understanding is that he might have been quite misunderstood as a guy. I'm sure he had many flaws. And I'm also sure that, you know, Waite, who created the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, or who was a co-creator of it, because we must not forget the Pamela Coleman-Smith, because I see her as a bigger creator of that deck, because, you know, tarot speaks through pictures, and if she wasn't there, you know, the deck wouldn't be what it is. Same goes for Lady Frida Harris in this deck. So I'm sure that all these people who created these decks had flaws, because we're all human. None of us is perfect. I do not know enough about any of these men specifically to judge them, and who am I to judge them? You know, so anyhow, this deck is just so incredibly beautiful and amazing, and I'm so excited to share the decks that are based on this deck or that are inspired by this deck with you today. And I'm gonna start with Tabula Mundi, because this deck is solely based on Thoth. A lot of people love this deck because it is based on Thoth, but the imagery is different and the colors are there. It is its own thing, I'm gonna say, and it is kind of simplified in a way where you can focus on perhaps the important details in the cards more, because it is less busy, I'm gonna say, and it is easier to see the details, to see the meanings of the cards. It is absolutely beautiful. I love the bags. They're so trippy and cool. And you have Abracadabra here. I find this incredible. It's on one of the cards in Thoth deck, but I forgot which card it is. Yeah, it is absolutely incredible, this deck. Beautiful. And I started studying it and then I stopped, because it's, even though it is simplified compared to Thoth deck, it is still like a huge deck. You know, there's still so much in it. I mean, basically everything from the Thoth deck is in this. Not everything. No, this is the wrong word to use. All that is super important, I'm gonna say, is in this deck. She used symbology that has the same meanings as the symbology in Thoth deck, and that's what makes this deck so special, I think, in my opinion. There are still some Rider-Waite-Smith tendencies, I'm gonna say. For example, the Fool here kind of reminds me more of the Fool in the Rider-Waite-Smith, like he is on a brisk of stepping into something new. Although you have, you know, you have the tiger, you have the alligator and all that, but he also has, you know, a little pouch with him, like in the Rider-Waite-Smith, so it is debatable. But yeah, this deck is so cool. cool is the right word for it. It's just so cool and inspiring. And I love how you can work with it based on decans, and how I showed this in another video, so I'm not going to do it again, but certain cards, like there is repetition of symbols in cards that connect them amongst each other, or the colors, or the themes, and it's just done so brilliantly. I love this Hermit card because he's going down from the mountain deep within, because in Rider-Waite-Smith we see him on the top of the mountain, but here he's going down into the depths. And we have this dog here that is the guardian of the underground. I forgot its name, but yeah, it's so cool. I love it. And look at this, because in the Thoth deck we see the seaman basically in the Hermit card, but here it has like a handprint on it. And and handprint and semen kind of like have the same message behind, It's so cool. Oh, these two cards, there we go. Because Ace of Cups, all aces are seen in the princesses, and you can see the resemblance here so beautifully, can't you? It's so incredible. We have the same cup here, and the princess is rising from it with the lotus and the swan. Wow. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm so glad that I invested in this deck. It was not cheap. It was like over £100. But I am grateful that I did, and I'm grateful that I could, that I am privileged to do this. Getting many decks is a huge privilege, and I am aware of that, and I am grateful that I can do this. So yes, this was Tabula Mundi. Next deck that is Thoth based is also the Vision Quest Tarot. Now, Vision Quest Tarot is really close to my heart, and I have to say, a lot of the time, the decks that I love because of the imagery, right? And I love this deck because of its imagery, for sure, because it's absolutely gorgeous. But the little white guidebook is the hugest gem in Tarot world, in my opinion, because it's just written so well. I will read you a random card later because I just have to, so you understand what I mean by it. This deck, it always speaks the truth. It is so amazing. The imagery is completely different to Thoth, mostly, but the messages behind it come from Thoth. This is probably my favorite Two of Earth card in the whole world. It's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Change. They used I'm not sure if they use the same keywords as in Thoth deck, but I think most of them are the same. And look at this. This picture is perfect for change. The moon, the sun, the night, the day, the roots, and then the growth of the plant. It's just amazing. It's just absolutely incredible. They changed the name of some cards, and they also changed the name of the court card. So we have father, mother, daughter, and son. Father corresponds to the prince, and son corresponds to the knight in this deck. Isn't it just gorgeous? Let me read you one of the cards. I always like reading the more challenging cards. Should we read the moon? Let's read the moon, shall we? In essence, the unconscious, visions, intuitions, the power of life cycles, fertility, dreams, fantasies, romance, acute sensitivity and empathy, also gloominess, drug abuse, the dark night of the soul. So just the keywords here say so much about the card. And then we have inner message and the outward manifestation. So the inner message is, your inner lunar power connects you to the most secret forces in nature. If you open up to them, you will be gifted with intuitive insight and empathy. Your feminine energies will come to the forefront. You will be capable of grasping the hidden wisdom of so-called irrational forces. Tune into the subtle rhythms of your life force now. Notice the pulsations on a biological, emotional, and spiritual level. All developments take place in definite, continuously reoccurring cycles, not just progression from birth to maturity to death. Sadness and grief have their place in these cycles, just as much as joy and exuberance. These are merely the two poles of the emotional spectrum available to us. Accept the whole spectrum. Don't judge and don't hold on to any state. Recognize emotions as the natural fluctuations of your own life force. And then outward manifestation. Your emotional pendulum tends to swing from high to low and back again, making it a bit more difficult to function at work now. The moon advises you to pay close attention to subtleties. Learn to use your intuition throughout your day. Relaxation and meditation will help, since nervousness and hectic activities smother the intuitive prompting constantly arising from deep within. Even a dreamy state can be useful at work if you don't criticize yourself and allow your energy to move. All discoveries, all inventions and revelations invariably come from the so-called dreamy realms beyond common logic and indeed beyond conventional thought. Thoughts may do some of the necessary groundwork, but it is the inexplicable spark of intuition that makes the breakthroughs possible. This is a good time to connect your rational aspect with the vaster realm of the irrational. Isn't that so cool? Like, I feel it brings through very different messages than you would get in a normal guidebooks, I'm gonna say. I love this Two of Water, so beautiful. And Nine of Earth is amazing. And the air suit is done so well in this deck as well. I think the air suit is one of my favorite in this deck. My favorite Two of Air card ever. It's so beautiful. I mean, the illustrator is absolutely incredible. I know that he illustrated a few more other decks from the 90s, I think, but I don't have any of those. But yes, this is the Vision Quest Tarot. The next deck that is completely thought-based as well is the Liber T Tarot. Liber T Tarot of Stars Eternal. This deck is basically similar imagery, similar to Thoth, but in the minor arcana, you get like extra pictures. Unfortunately, so unfortunately, there's no big guidebook with this deck. There are forms out there and you can find information on each card and what each of these images mean. A lot is to do with esoteric knowledge from like the Greek times or even before that, and it is so interesting. Like, I explored it for a little bit once and I was like, whoa, this is so deep. So this deck is like Thoth plus extra information. Like, it's so good. It is so good. Like, I've read this post of someone who explicitly uses this deck and they said that prefer it to the Thoth because the imagery is a little bit more stand outish, I'm gonna say. So if we look at, let's look at the Hierophant card here. So if you compare it to the Thoth deck, the pictures are a little bit softer and they hold a little bit less details like strokes and stuff, but the important parts stand out. And you have everything. You can see here the key, you have the pentagon with a child inside here. You have, I think this is Ma'at holding the moon. You have the correspondences to zodiac around. You have the, I think it's the lotus flower. You see the snake. Actually, you can see the snake here much better. And the nails that are stuck in the snake. So it is more obvious. Certain things are way more obvious in this deck than they are in the Thoth deck. You also have sacred geometry still. Yeah, it is absolutely incredible. I think very underrated deck in tarot community, to be honest. And I was thinking, I'm gonna keep the Hierophant card out and we can look at every Hierophant card in all the decks actually. Talking about that, let's look at the Hierophant real quick in the Vision Quest Tarot. So in Vision Quest we have the Shaman, and see he's also holding the wand here in his right hand. Very interesting. And if we look in the Tabula Mundi, you can see all four signs here. You can see the sacred geometry. His face actually looks very similar to the face here. You can see he's holding the key, or the keys rather are here actually. Do we see them at? Oh yes, here we go. Here we go. I think this represents Ma'at with the peacock feathers. We see the nails here and here. We see the representation of a snake here. It is so cool. It is so cool. And it looks like a keyhole as well, which is really cool. Tabula Mundi is amazing. I think it would be really worth looking at all cards next to the Thoth Deck with Tabula Mundi, I feel one can recognize how similar actually the decks are. We were talking about Liber T. So yeah, the Liber T deck is absolutely incredible. I trimmed mine, by the way. It comes with these huge borders that have different languages on it, and I did not like that. And I cut off the names of the cards as well, because I feel once you get familiarized with Thoth Deck, it's really simple to see which card is which. I mean, this deck is so cool, and I really am looking forward to study it when I start studying the Thoth Deck. So yeah, Liber T. Isn't that creepy here? Wow. Yeah, it's kind of creepy, but I like that. Next one I have for you is the New Era Elements Tarot, also based on Thoth. I speak about this deck quite a bit on my channel because I find it amazing. Like, I read with it for others and it just works so well. It is very intuitive and the keywords are amazing, and the scenes that the author Eleanor F. Hyper decided to portray are just astonishing. The art style is incredible. I must not forget to stop when we see the Hierophant card. Yeah, there's lots of pictures here that can be triggering, so please be aware. But I think if you find a certain picture triggering, that is also a message that this is something that perhaps needs to be dealt with, I suppose. Even though some things are really hard in life. I think this deck is really useful or really good to use for people that you kind of know their story, because I use it for my friends and they were all loving it. But maybe if you use it for clients and you're not aware of their traumas, it could be triggering. But yeah, they're very intuitive. I love reading with this deck so much. And I love that it has keywords so much as well. The one thing that I just work with it as it is the court cards. The court cards is like, for example, Father of Earth is the fire of earth, which is it's a golden dawn. So this would resonate with night then in Thoth Deck, right? Fire of earth. And then when you have daughter of fire, daughter I would naturally connect to the princess in Thoth Deck, right? And princess is the earth of fire in this case. But in her deck, daughters relate to water and mothers relate to earth. So daughter of fire would technically be then the queen, right? Because the water of whatever. So that is maybe a little bit confusing and one just needs to get used to it. But I suppose when you read with this deck for a bit longer, then it's not a problem anymore. Where is the Hierophant? Did I miss it? I feel like I did. I will find it again if I did, so we can compare it to our Thoth. So the Hierophant in this deck is Gandhi. Let's see. Yeah, it's very interesting because it is completely different, obviously, because it represents the modern society. But still, like, this pattern here and the shape kind of resonate what's going on with it here. And perhaps his posture is similar, although he has his hands in front of his solar plexus chakra, which he has one hand open, pointing 2 fingers down, which I'm sure means something. It is a really cool depiction. So yeah, this was the New Era Elements Tarot. The next deck that is Thoth inspired is the Tarot of Avatara. Now this deck, the author Gabby said that she wanted to create a Thoth inspired deck, but that she couldn't help herself, but still subconsciously included some Rider-Waite-Smith symbology or feel to it. This deck is huge. I feel it is an incredible deck for healing. We can see that she used colors that are the same in Thoth cards that are here, but she was inspired by Frida Kahlo's life and her story. And I think she did a brilliant job here, how she connected everything. So she connected Frida's story with Thoth meanings, sometimes a little bit Rider-Waite-Smithy, but the color palettes are the same as in the Thoth deck, and I really love that so much. It is such a creative expression, this deck. I mean, it's such a sacral chakra deck. such a sacred chakra deck. It's like really good for approaching traumas that stem from our sacral chakra. As we know, Frida Kahlo's life was a very interesting and very painful life, as she had an accident in her teenage years where her woman parts were damaged completely for a long time, and she couldn't walk properly, and at the end of her life she lost her leg. And yeah, it was a very painful story, but it inspired, the pain inspired her creativity and expression, and her paintings are still inspirational to this day, and one of the biggest, I see her as one of the biggest painters that ever existed, to be honest with you. Oh my gosh, I need to pay attention because I will miss the Hierophant card if I haven't already. Yeah, I absolutely adore this deck, but it is definitely not a deck that you would use every day. I think when there is something that you need to work on, like your shadow work, this is a really, really good deck for that. Really, really good deck. I feel especially if you're a woman and you had trauma to do with being either sexually abused or infertility or miscarriages or anything amongst those in that realm of trauma, even birth, I would say. Yeah, this is a great deck to work with for healing. It can bring so much healing, I feel, and so much clarity to our traumas. It is absolutely incredible. I love, love, love it. See, because she lost her baby, right? And Seven of Pentacles is all about failure in Thoth, right? It's failed. So she felt like she failed as a woman because she couldn't have children. Incredible. What can I say? Sadhana from Integrative Healing with Sadhana is doing a deep dive in this deck at the moment, so I highly suggest it if you are interested in it. I follow it and it's so good. Like every time I watch her videos, it gives me an insight into this deck on a deeper level. And of course I miss the Hierophant. Let me find it quickly. Interesting that this card, one of the cards that look color-wise the least similar to the Thoth deck, although you have the blues and you have this orange, brown, colors and yellows, you do, but we also have greens here, and yeah, the green color stands out because it is not in the Thoth deck. We have the snake, we have the keys, we have the pentagram, we have a lot of the symbology here, a lot, but the colors are not as similar. So let me look at, should we look at another card perhaps? So see here, for example, right, the Rider-Waite-Smith influences, you can see pentacles instead of discs. But yeah, we can see the feathers or the plant's leaves influence here, and the way that she positioned the babies. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and then we have 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we have the babies, although she's kind of in the center here. Very interesting, very interesting. But it does hold that energy of loss, of failure in her face, and in the energies of, and you can see these babies, they have the same pink type of color in them and the green type of color to them. It is incredible, I tell you, this deck is incredible. Another thing that she did is that she changed the core card's name into Prince, Princess, and then King and Queen, which I find, confusing, because I connect Princess from the Thoth deck, I connect to the Kings in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So that, to me, is a bit confusing. But if you connect Kings from the Rider-Waite-Smith to the Knights in Thoth, then you'll be fine. So I need to always have a little think before I read these cards. So yeah, this was Tarot Avatara. The next deck that is Thoth inspired, but also Rider-Waite-Smith inspired, is the lovely Om Tarot. I speak about this deck quite a lot as well on my channel. This is a trimmed version of this deck. It is so beautiful and colorful and just gentle looking. It's like a balm for the soul when you work with it. Although the messages in the guidebook are very Capricorn-y, like it would tell you, it's very structured. It tells you what the symbols mean, it tells you what is going on, and then it also gives you an advice what you should do that is very down to earth. So I really love this deck for that balance of spiritual but grounded energy that gives you really good advice. And I feel this resonates with the Thoth energy a lot because it's a very spiritual deck, but at the same time it is very practical, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can see that the inspiration in this one lies from both decks. We do have a card that looks more like the last card because she's riding a lion, but it's called Strength. So I'm like, why did you call it Strength if it's thought-based? Or at least the author says that it's thought-based. I love this Three of Wands so much. And thankfully she kept Princess, Knight and Queen in this deck, which I really appreciate. Because I love it when, if the people say, oh, this is thought-based, that they keep the court cards as they are in the Thoth deck. I appreciate when that happens. Because I feel so many people are so lost in the Rider-Waite-Smith system as creators that they want to try, maybe create something new that is not Rider-Waite-Smith, and they say, oh, I'm going to do the Thoth deck. And then they just still, I don't know, stem from Rider-Waite-Smith anyway. Just my personal opinion. Please don't be upset with me for saying this. But yeah, this is another Thoth-ish based deck. As you can see, some of... Oh my gosh, did I... Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to pull those two cards after I go through it because I keep on forgetting looking for the Hierophant. But yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. And such a... I don't know, such a pleasure to use. Yes, the Hierophant card doesn't look very Thoth-like, does it? But the messages behind the cards are like that. And then also the Seven of Discs look more like Seven of Pentacles to me from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, right? So that's why I say this deck is inspired by both Thoth and Rider-Waite-Smith. Okay, so that was the lovely Om. Let's go to our next deck. Thoth Journey. This is one of my newest decks that I have in my tarot family, and I am in love with it. It is just so beautiful and out of this world. I put it in the same category spiritually as the Phalarkos. It kind of has the same spiritual depth to it, I'm gonna say. So this deck is just so flippin' beautiful. It is based on Thoth completely, which I'm very happy about. The author journeyed into each card, like in the book, she journeys into each card and tells you what is going on within the person that is reflected in the card, and then she journeys out of the card. But then in the little white guidebook, which is not that little, it's quite thick, you actually have more traditional type of meanings for the cards as well, which is very useful when you're doing a reading. So I absolutely love this, and I'm so grateful that my partner got me this for my birthday because it is going out of print. The authors only have a few decks left, but you can only get them with the big book, so it is on a very pricey side. You can't get just the deck anymore. But I'm actually happy that happened because the big book is so valuable, so valuable. I must not miss the Hierophant and Seven of Earth again. This deck, for me, reads beautifully intuitively. So much. I love it. I made big spreads with it and it worked fine, but I did take a long time with it. I feel this is not a deck you can just pull out and be like, yeah, this means this. Like, it is a deck that is very deep, and I feel not treating it in that manner would be disrespectful, you know, because I feel there was so much time and effort and fire put into this. When I say fire, I mean like life force and passion. So it should be treated this way. It should be worked with. One, taking time. Oh my god, this Water Nine. How gorgeous. These cards speak in feelings to me. Like, I feel the messages in my bones. Does that make sense? It's hard to use words when I work with this deck. It's like I would use it and I would know exactly what it's trying to tell me, but it's hard to then cognitively explain what that means. I just know it in my heart. Oh man, one of my faves, honestly. It is incredible. So I'm gonna try, I'm pretty sure I missed the two cards that I should stop at. Oh, there we go, the Hierophant. Oh, and Earth 7, perfect. You get 2 Magases as well. I chose this one. This is the newest version. The old one is in the box and the box is tucked away somewhere. Sorry about that. I love this art card so much. Wow. I also love the fact that it's not edged. I am becoming a fan of decks that are not edged. So let's first look at the Hierophant. Amazing. Do you see the bull and the elephant here? And the kind of like all-seeing eye in the clouds that kind of feels like this area here. I think this is her spiritual guide that came through here as well. It's like someone absorbed the messages of the Thoth Deck and then dreamt it and then painted their lucid dream. Oh my gosh, it does something to my brain. And this eye looks like the elephant eye to me. Yeah, let's look at the other one. Amazing. Do you see? The image looks completely different, but the messages come through so well. And it's interesting because I always saw this as feathers as well, even though I think it is the plant leaves. But it's interesting how obviously the authors felt like it was feathers as well. And then learning from our failures, you know, because owl represents challenging time, but also challenging times bring wisdom into our lives and readiness to open this new door that this failure allows us to see. Amazing. It is so good. So this was Thought Journey Tarot, an oracle for change. The next one I'm going to share with you is the Wheel of Change Tarot, which is based on many different things. It's not just thought, but I feel when it comes to structure and the messages, it is more thought inspired than Rider-Waite-Smith inspired. Honestly, this deck is such a mix of everything. It's hard to put in words, like different cultures, different spiritual practices, different scientific approaches. I don't know, different everything. It's hard to put in words. It is so good. It is so good. I love this death card. And I love the art so much. And I talked to the creator of this deck on Etsy, and she told me that she's not a proper artist. I'm like, what? How are you not a proper artist? This is amazing. And she said, no, you can see that through this deck I learned a lot. Like if you see progression of art in some paintings or cards, it is much better than in the others. I'm like, I have not noticed. To me, they're all amazing. So yeah. There we go, the Hierophant card. We can leave it aside for later. Yeah, the messages are so different. Like she based the messages on numerology as well. But she mentions in her book the Thoth Deck quite a bit. So I put it in this category, thought inspired, although it is inspired by the world. I'm going to say it is inspired by the world and filtered through the heart chakra of love for everyone and everything that exists within our world. The messages that I get from this deck is about trying to understand each other and recognize each other's differences and learn from each other and coming together from love, you know, everybody holding their hands, understanding that we're all human beings that coexist in this beautiful planet with the animals and with the plants, and that we should look out for each other and we should look out for our planet and look after it. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I can see the resemblance in the Hierophant card actually, with the colors, with just the energy of it. Although we do have Rider-Waite-Smith influences too, because you have two students here, right? Which is very Rider-Waite-Smithy. But the color-wise is very Thothy. Yeah, because look, you also have the beard here, just the same way that this guy has a beard. Very interesting. And then if you look at the Seven of Discs, see, she used discs as well, which is something very interesting. I love that. And I believe she used Prince, Princess, Knight and Queen as well, which is the Thoth system court cards, right? So yeah, Seven of Discs and Seven of Discs in Thoth are very different. And there's also a very different message in here. It's all about, you know, harvesting things. And oh my gosh, I can't remember. It is very deep. The meanings are so deep. And I will not remember because it's been a while since I read this card. But I remember it made sense numerologically and also from the point of Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The next deck that I'm going to show you is the Star Tarot. Now, I've done a full review of this video and it's a really cool deck. The Star Tarot is based on Thoth Deck but also on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It is like a really cool combination And I think that the author did a really good job combining these two systems together. Every card is super duper detailed, and every little thing on each card actually means something. What I love about the guidebook that comes with this deck is that the author explained every symbol in this deck. It took years, over 10 years to create this deck. And I know she started with major arcana cards, and then she had a little bit of a break, and then she continued with the minor arcana cards later on. And you can see the difference in the majors and in the minors, I would say. Even the way that the book is written, I think that by the time she was creating the minor arcana, she had a wider knowledge about tarot, I'm gonna say. I love the minors in this deck, but I also love the majors because they're still like beautiful. But I feel the minors are more complex than the majors in this deck. They are so amazing. They're very easy to read, very intuitive, because you have so much you can go on about. There's so many things you can focus on, and it's so vast. So it really depends on what the person who you're reading for is asking you about. Because this card, for example, could go in so many directions. So many directions. I mean, you can focus on the plants, you can focus on the animals, the way that she's holding the animals, the way that they feel around her. You can focus on the symbols carved in the stones and in the trees, or even what type of tree it is. See the water pouring out of the heart caves, stuff like that. It's so detailed and amazing. This deck is absolutely incredible. This is one of the decks that I started my tarot journey on. I really am grateful that it came into my life, because it taught me so much, and the guidebook is so amazing that I would just buy it on its own, to be honest. I still use it to this day. When I study other decks, I would still refer to this guidebook. It would give me a deeper meaning into certain things, the cards. She done a proper research, like there is 4 pages of different, I think it's 4 pages, like a lot of pages of the resources she used to create this deck. And I appreciate this, you know. So if you first look at the Hierophant card, very interesting. So instead of the bull and the elephant, we have the bull and the bear. Yeah, you can kind of composition wise, it looks like the one from the Thoth. Quite a bit, actually. See, this one is pointing down with 2 fingers. He is pointing down with 1 finger, though. You have the Ma'at here, and you have the Labyrinth of Life here. And Ma'at kind of holds the key to the Labyrinth of Life anyway, because it's all about weighing your heart. How heavy is your heart, you know? Yeah, it's very interesting. I would say that it actually resembles more the Thoth deck than it does the Rider-Waite-Smith, because we don't have any people who are trying to learn from him, which I really appreciate, because I prefer the Hierophant from the Thoth deck much more. And if we look at the pentacles or the discs, we can see that the difference is huge. So this one is way more closer to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, way closer, because it's all about harvesting what you've already created and thinking and planning ahead, like what do you need to change in order to succeed even more. What do you need to adjust here? So I think this one is way closer to Rider-Waite-Smith. The next deck that I'd like to share with you is Tarot of the Spirit. And Tarot of the Spirit is based on the Kabbalah, on the Tree of Life. So it is not really Thoth based or inspired, but it stems from the system that is a huge part of the Thoth deck as well. And here I have the first 2 cards that I will look at later. Yes, this deck is absolutely gorgeous. It's very creative, but also very structured. It brings together the creativity with the systematic world, if that makes sense, because the system of the Tree of Life is in every single card, and you can put the Tree of Life on top of each card and see what exists in each separate. See here in the 6 is yellow, for example. Wow. Like, you can study this deck for years, because the books that come with this deck, or not with this deck, the books that you can get that are about this deck are enormous. Like, combined they're over 1,500 pages. So it's incredible. This deck is so amazing from another reason, and that is the fact that you can read it very intuitively. So even though you don't go and study the Tree of Life, the colors speak to you. The way the things are positioned on the cards speak to you subconsciously. There's a lot of expression, a lot of sacred geometry in these cards as well, and symbology. So it is absolutely amazing, this deck. Oh, look at this Three of Water, so beautiful. Pouring in these cups from the same source. I love this Mother of Water with the lotus. This is an extra card, and it represents the hidden Sephirot, which is this one here, which is called Knowledge, Dath. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I could go on and on about this deck. I'm not gonna lie, I need to study it more properly, but I have so many amazing decks, and this one is gonna take time. So I know one day or 1 year, I'll take a year to study this deck because I feel it is so complex. But I firstly want to study Thoth, and then study this one, and then being able to apply everything I know about Thoth within this one as well, or see the connections between these two decks. You can see that the Emperor here is very Thoth-like. A lot of the cards resemble the Thoth deck, but a lot of them also don't. So, you know, it's a really special tarot deck. You can see the resemblance a little bit in the sacred geometry. We see the bull influences here, but the bull is the Taurus is, this is a Taurus card, so that makes sense. We don't see any elephants. This Hierophant definitely more resembles the one from Rider-Waite-Smith because we have followers here. Let's look at the Seven of Earth. I feel with this Seven of Earth, we do have some sort of resemblance because it feels like from the darkness. You are in the darkness, you are underground, and from that one pentacle then you eject out into the beauty, into the growth, into the fruits of labor, you know, after you transmuted and directed your light, your will, your whatever, your life force perhaps. So that is very interesting. I love this Seven of Earth, it's beautiful. The next deck that I'd like to show you is the Margarete Petersen Tarot deck. And this one is, I think, also inspired by Thoth and the Rider-Waite-Smith, but I feel the messages in the book are more Thoth-like. It is definitely its own thing. You need to stretch your mind to read this deck. I think it really helps you evolve as a tarot reader. It really helps you expand your conscious mind. It helps you expand your subconscious mind. It is so amazing. I absolutely adore it. It is beautiful. You can read it in a very intuitive way, but the messages in the guidebook are just incredible. I absolutely love them. Like, you have poems for the major arcana, and the minor arcana and the court cards are written in such a beautiful poetic way, and they deliver the messages in such different way. It's amazing. I love it so much. So this is a deck that I feel one needs to take time with. One needs to be very zen, in a very meditative state, in order to enter each card and feel it and listen to the messages each card delivers, and then, you know, translate it into the language that the people you're reading for would understand. And one can see that Margarete took her time to create this deck as well. Let's look. I'm gonna show you the example. So this is Seven of Feathers, which is Seven of Air. Focus your antennae on your inner voices. From which perspective do you perceive things? You are the newly hatched butterfly, seeing things as if for the first time. You are the black shadow bird with sharp beak and claw, always ready to tear apart that which is not to your liking. The more you wish to be like others, the more you will be trapped by your own ideas. Recognize the trap of self-fulfilling prophecies and hypnosis. I can't. One is not allowed to. That's impossible. It won't work anyway. I have to, etc. How do you trap yourself? Realize your own blind spots and change your attitude towards your own hostility. See, very different messages here. Very different messages here. Distilling information, really. It reminds me of those Herbcrafters Tarot, where you have eucalyptus for the Seven of Air, where you are distilling information that comes from the outside, and this kind of have similar to feel to it, because I can't, one is not allowed to, that's impossible. These are all things that we are fed in from the outside. The babies believe that they can do anything. That's why the children generally, that's why they're so fearless, right? So that is such an interesting look into the Seven of Feathers in this case. So yeah, an amazing deck. I am so grateful. I trimmed mine, by the way. That's why it looks so great. I am not the biggest fan of its borders, because they're quite big, this purpley type of borders. And this is the anniversary edition from 2021. Let's look at our Seven of Discs and our Hierophant here, because I am very interested how they look like. Very similar colors to it, isn't it? Even though the message that comes through feels kind of different. Very powerful though. It's very powerful. It's more fluidy, more flowy compared to this one. This one is very structured and very order-like, whereas this one is more power, you know, very interesting. And then if we look at our Seven of Feathers, Seven of Coins, yeah, it resembles more, in my opinion, the Rider-Waite-Smith. But then again, you can see that this plant is growing from a really dark place, from a very dark place, and it has an ancestral feel to it. I'm gonna read from the book because this is my channel and I do what I want. So let's see what it says for Seven of Coins. Growth and decay, doing while not doing. You can neither touch, eat, hear, see, nor hold on to time. Time is very powerful. No one can escape the laws of time. Matter is inhabited by time and defined by it. This card tells the stories of time. That's what I said, ancestral feel to it. Different stratums containing rock drawings. A skeleton whose flesh has returned to the soil. The lifespan of plants, people, animals, and bacteria is ruled by different but interconnected intervals of time. Growth is possible because of decay. Decay is inevitable because of growth. The secret of beauty is revealed in the inconceivable. The beauty of a flower opening already shows the aura of decay. Don't interfere. Commit yourself to the process of growth. Wow, I feel the messages are like a mix of Rider-Waite-Smith and Thoth, because the Thoth is a very dark one, isn't it? It's a very dark one. It's like Saturn in Taurus. Very heavy energy. Like, yeah, you're doing something and now it's really not working and it's stuck. Whereas here, it explains how that decay, which happened here, is so important for the actual growth to happen, and it is inevitable and it's life. Amazing. And my last deck that I'm going to show you here is the Margarete Tarot, and this is also a deck that was inspired by many different things. One of them definitely was the Tree of Life, and again it is associated very deeply with the Thoth Deck. So yes, this is the Margarete Tarot, one of my favorite decks of all time. I read this deck mostly intuitively. I do check out the book as well, just to get an extra layer to the meanings of the cards, but most of the time what happens is I read this very intuitively, get the messages, and then I will check the guidebook, and my intuitive nature is usually correct, I'm gonna say. This is my favorite emperor of all time. It is just so deep and powerful, but it's at the same time has that fatherly, compassionate energy to it. This deck has been deep dived in on many different channels. Two of my favorite deep dives are from Sadhana, from Integrative Healing with Sadhana, and from Natalie from Sanskrit Blue. They did an amazing job deep diving into this deck. So if you are intrigued by it and you want to just maybe learn a bit more about it, I really suggest those two channels to do that. It is so beautiful. I mean, the art is exquisite in this deck. Just so deep. I use this deck for my past life readings. I use it for my ancestral readings as well. I use it to connect to other beings from the liminal spaces, from other dimensions. It is such a amazing deck. I mean, I think Marie White is not even aware of how important this deck is for the tarot community. I know there are like two groups of people. The one group is the one where people in it love, adore this deck to the heavens and back. And then there is another group of people who really don't see why this deck is special. And I think there's no in between with this deck. Like, you either love it or you hate it. So this is the Mary L Tarot. And let's look at the two cards. The Hierophant kind of resembles color-like. We see the same colors. Energy-like. His face kind of looks similar. He's looking down, holding the key as well, like here. He's wearing this gown type of dressing. And we don't have any followers, which is in the Rider-Waite-Smith. So it definitely holds that energy, I feel, to this Hierophant. Again, it holds that energy of it, doesn't it? But a little bit more optimistic. Even though it's dark, even though it's heavy, you push through and you can do this. It might take time and a lot of effort, but the sun is rising out there and you're moving towards it. And also color-wise, we have these type blues and a lot of dark colors here, which is really cool. Wow, I mean, this deck is just amazing. And now, I would actually like to pull a card from all of these decks that I was talking to you about today and compare the cards. And I think I'm going to choose the Star card, because why not? The Star is such a beautiful card. So great. So I'm gonna pull the stars. So I collected the star cards from all of the decks that I showed you just now, and I also have my Rider-Waite-Smith star here, so we can compare it. To be honest, when you look at the star from the Rider-Waite-Smith and the Thoth deck, there are resemblances, I suppose, but I feel the Thoth one is way more ethereal, and the Rider-Waite-Smith one is very down-to-earth kind of type of a star. So let's see. So if I firstly look at the star from the Wheel of Change Tarot, if we put it next to it, we can see that it's very ethereal as well. And she is blue, and here I feel she is pouring from her right, no, she's pouring from both sides, from her right hand. Here she's facing us, here she's not facing us. The only difference, I'd say, because we have all beautiful, like this type of celestial star dust in both of them, which is absolutely amazing. We see some sort of spirals going on here, and we have a spiral here. So I feel this one is very, very good. And also, can you see things are spiraling out of the star here, and here are spiraling out from the same corner, but from her cup. Very interesting. And here spiraling from this star around as well. That is so beautiful. I love this card. And if you look at the Tabula Mundi, which is next to it, I feel is just so gorgeous. It's one of my favorite star cards of all time. I feel is just so amazing. Like, she has the same hand up as this star. She's facing the other side, but I suppose the author wanted to, the creator wanted to show her face as well. She's wearing her hair here on her body like that, like a stream. I don't know why a stream of consciousness is coming to my head, but and here she's wearing perhaps her hair as well. We don't see if that's her hair or not. We also have spiral going on here, just like here. I think it would be good to pay attention to which cards show some sort of spiraling happening and which ones don't. Because in the Rider-Waite-Smith, well, to be honest, we do have kind of like a spiral in the water, but not really. It's more like when you throw a stone in it and it creates the little waves going sideways into the shape of a circle. So let's look at the next one, the star from my thought journey, which I love so dearly. We have these purples and blues in this one, but in all three here we have a lot of reds and yellows as well, which I find very interesting because we have reds and yellows in the Rider-Waite-Smith one. So I feel a lot of the newer decks, even though they claim to be based on the Thoth system, I feel a lot of them still include some gems from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, because it is an amazing deck too. So yeah. Also, these three stars here are naked and she is not naked, which is very interesting. She also has a horse here, but this cup here resembles this cup here. And do we have any spiraling going on? We kind of do around the star here, which is also the sun, right? This star here looks kind of like this star. And then if we go into the spirit, Tarot the Spirit here, Tarot the Spirit, do we see any resemblance here? In a very creative way, I can see it, like the colors match perfectly. Apart from a lot of black in this painting here, it looks like a match. I don't know, it reminds me of a match that you can turn on. We don't have any spiraling going on, but we do have a star here, like this one. I mean, you have to have a star on the picture of the star card, don't you? And then if you go into the Mary L Tarot, the colors are completely different in this one. Completely. And there's another card in this deck that when I saw it, I thought it was the star card, but it's not. It's the universe or the world. Let me show you. You'll see what I'm talking about. Like energy-wise, I feel that card looks more like the star card than this one, just because of the colors. This one. Because of the colors and because of the nakedness and the blue and the blue tones, this one feels more like the star to me than this one. And I know that there was something between these two cards when she was creating the deck. I'm not sure if this one was the star first and then she changed it. I know that something happened, but I'm not completely sure about that. I know that some tarot tubers were talking about it. But in any case, this card that she decided to be the star is very different to this one. The only thing that has the same is the fact that it includes a star. And the message does come through it really nicely, though. It's like a guiding star that is guiding this crowds and crowds and crowds of people into a better place from the darkness, away from the darkness, into the light. Maybe she's blessing them with the creative mind because she's orange, right? So, yeah, this one is very different. And if you look at the star card from the New Era Elements Tarot, I think that it is inspired by both. It is very down-to-earth card. Obviously, it's the down-to-earth deck. But we do have this ethereal feel to it because of the stardust at the background. I'm not sure if this is a stardust. That's how I see it or perceive it. It's probably something else. But yeah, it's probably a Milky Way on a very clear night, but the feel from here and here is very similar. That guiding light that guides you back home, right? The lighthouse. I fucking love this deck. And then we have, what do we have? The star from the lovely Om. Yeah, it's definitely based on the Rider-Waite-Smith. Look at it. We have the water, we have the blues, the yellows, the woman looks the same. So I would say that this card, that's what I was saying, that some of the cards are completely Rider-Waite-Smith in this deck, and the star, it looks like, is that card. And then the star from the Star Tarot. Again, the woman looks very Rider-Waite-Smith-like, but then the whole feel to the picture is like a combination of this one and this one, in my opinion. Because you have a lot of blues and like deep blues and purples in this one as well. You don't have like just light blue or sky blue, whatever it's called. So that's an interesting one. And then if we go to the Tarot Avatara, look at that. The way she's holding her hands is so similar to the Thoth one. And we have the blues and the purples and the pinks. Amazing. And you have the same star here. Then you have it here, but you have more of them, which I find interesting. Instead of holding the cup, she's holding a cloud that's raining down. And one of the stars is here, or the main star perhaps is here. And again, we don't have any spirals going on in this card, but we do have like a similar one from this card, the water, see? Her foot in the water creates these little waves that come from pouring the water in the water here. And then the star from the Margarete Petersen tarot deck reminds me completely of this one because of the shape as well. See the circular shape here? And the colors, the deep blues, the purples, the star in the corner. This one, in its abstract way, I feel is such a resemblance of this star. And then the last one, the star from the Vision Quest Tarot, I would say again, even though it is based on Thoth, the messages are based on Thoth, it resembles this one more, in my opinion. The only thing I would say, maybe the cup or the bowl she's holding is more similar to the bowl here. And we do have the deep blues that come from this card. But you have the greenery and stuff like from this card. And she is a woman from this earth. Was this star here looks like she's not from the planet Earth. If that makes sense. So yeah, there you have it. These are all the decks that are based or inspired by the Thoth deck that I have in my tarot family. And I absolutely adore them all. They're basically my favorite decks in my tarot family, I'm not gonna lie, because I don't know why, but I'm feeling very drawn to the Thoth and to the Tree of Life. And I know that in the future I'm going to study the Thoth system into depths, and I'm very excited about it. And I know it's gonna blow my mind, and I know I'm gonna reach another level of, I don't want to call it enlightenment, but just spiritual development, you know. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any tarot decks that are based on Thoth. How do you find them? Which ones are your favorite? And yeah, I hope you have a lovely time wherever you are on this beautiful planet Earth. And I will see you again soon. Bye bye.